Congress do anything to get this money back and make sure it doesn't happen again? Well, joining me now is House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer. And Congressman, thank you so much for being with us on our program.
Good morning. Thank you.
Congressman, just a bit earlier in this program, we heard from an expert, a corporate governance expert, who says there's absolutely no way, there should be no way for the government to get this money back. What is your reaction to that?
Well, we're looking to see whether legally that's the case, but very frankly, some of these people have no shame. The fact of the matter is they're the ones who put AIG at great risk, and when the bubble burst, the federal government had to step in so that the tidal wave of ramifications of the failure of AIG would not undermine not just the economy of this country, but internationally as well. It's not a question of whether we can turn it around, although, as President Obama has said, as Chris Dodd has said, and others, Barney Frank, we're looking at ways, in light of the fact we're an 80% stakeholder in AIG, that this can be turned around. But the real shocking thing to me is that these executives have the temerity, after their performance, to take these bonuses. They ought to give them back. They ought to give them back now.
Well, Congressman, short of giving them back, though, you said you're looking at ways. What ways, though, could Congress do?
Well, of course, again, we're the majority interest holder in AIG at this point in time, looking at that, what we can do from that perspective. Secondly, looking at a tax perspective. Gary Peters, new member from Michigan, is looking at a tax component similar to what Chris Dodd is looking at. The administration's directed Secretary Geithner, as you know, to look at all the ways and means possible to do this. If we can't do it, we can't do it. In addition, the new president of AIG, the CEO, who brought in, opines that one of the problems is you can't have the people leave because they're the only ones that understand how to get out of the mess that they created. But my point is that I can't believe that the AIG executives who are getting this bonus money don't realize how dysfunctional they look, how greedy they look, how insensitive they look in terms of the American taxpayer having ponying up a lot of money to keep their company in business so we don't have ramifications throughout the economy, and nevertheless they have the temerity to take these bonuses. It's shocking.
Congressman, as you just answered Betty's question there about some of the measures that you are looking to legally, is this part of the language? I know 80 House Democrats sent a note to the president, and there was this sort of hint that if this situation was not addressed in a way that the majority would like, there would be consequences. Is that the list that you just gave Betty, or are there other things you're considering?
Well, I'm sure there are other things considering, but that's a list of options. Betty asked me what the options were. Those are a list of options that are being considered. But the president also made a very thoughtful comment, as he does always, that we can't simply act in this instance out of anger. We need to act in the best interest of our economy and the best interest of our country. As angry as we may be at AIG, we need to get out of this deep, deep hole. And the $1.6 trillion, not billions of dollars, trillions of dollars of additional liabilities that AIG may have in these derivatives and credit default swaps that they created, in which they thought they would estrange risk from responsibility. Now we see that the risk was real. It's come home to roost. And unfortunately, these executives who are taking bonuses don't take responsibility for it. That's a shame. But we're continuing to look at the options available.
But Congressman, you know, I was talking to Arthur Levitt earlier, the former SEC chairman, and you know, he argues opposite. I mean, he said, if you break these contracts, and what about other contracts that other companies write? Are you going to break those? I mean, you set a very dangerous precedent.
Yeah, but my major message is these executives ought to give this back voluntarily, not break the contract. I understand Mr. Levitt makes a very sound point. There obviously is concern about breaking contracts. People have to have faith and trust in a contract they enter into. My whole point is these executives are totally insensitive, as they have been, in terms of the American people's investment in their company to prop up their company so they don't infect the entire economy as they have already done. These executives ought to voluntarily, not breaking the contract, ought to voluntarily say, we understand the anger of the American people, we understand the investment they've made, and notwithstanding the contract, we're going to voluntarily give this money back and not take these bonuses, and do everything in our power to overcome the bad situation that we have created.
Okay, Congressman, thank you very much for your time. I wish we had more time, but thanks so much, Congressman Steny Hoyer, talking about AIG and the bonuses.
All right, well, U.S. Mall